Mabuhay YouTube. This is Jay from PinoySteel, and I have 4 very nice Balisongs for you today. Now, they're made by different people. The first 3 are from one group of makers, and the third one down is my personal knife, which is from one of the top 3 makers still producing Balisongs today. I just wanted to show you the differences between these knives and the way they're made, and the amount of care that's taken in their manufacture. Um, let's take a look at the first one up top. These two, as you can see, both have bayonet profiles. This is inspired by the US World War II bayonet, which was commonly used in the Philippines and other arenas in the 1940s. These have aluminum bolsters, which first appeared during World War II. Aluminum is not something which is abundant in the Philippines. Before that, it was all brass, and it was only during World War II that aluminum was used on blades all over the Philippines, as a matter of fact. The wood on all these is Kamagong, which I hand finished. Kamagong is an ebony species which is native to the Philippines, and it's somewhat similar to Makassar ebony, which makes sense considering Makassar is Indonesian, and Makassar and the Philippines aren't that far apart. So these have all been hand finished to 1000 grit before oiling and waxing, which I did myself, and this substantially improves the appearance and the fit and finish of the inserts to the bolsters and the liners, or the housing. All of them have stainless housings. All of them have hand forged carbon steel blades. My personal Balisong has stainless bolsters, as you can see. It's a little shinier, and stainless is a lot more durable, but it's also considerably heavier. Alright, so let me show you the difference. If you look at the first one here, the pins are a little off. They're not quite lined up perfectly. The second one's a little better in that regard. Mine's perhaps the best, since it's from one of the better makers. These do cost more, of course. And the last one is pretty good, actually. Not too bad at all. The bolsters, the aluminum ones scratch up quite easily. There's not much you can do about that, since it's a softer metal, but it's very easy to polish it up, and I've actually given these more of a Scotch-Brite type finish in order to get them looking better, and also so that scratches don't show up. So this one, if you look carefully, the grinding isn't bad. I handpicked all these myself. I handled quite a few to pick these out, and I handle hundreds of Balisongs a year, so I'm pretty good at picking them out now, if I may say so. I still have a lot to learn, of course. It's going to be a lifelong learning process, but this is a fairly decent Balisong for a commercial grade piece. The blade is fairly thick, about 5/32, but as you can see, the grind isn't quite perfect. It's not bad, but it's not perfect. Then again, grinding a blade by hand takes a great deal of skill. The second one is ground quite well as well, not perfect by any means. And I don't know if it will pass the coin test. It probably will. The guys who make these do make fairly good Balisongs for the money, and they are much cheaper than the highest grade. These are pretty rare in this combination. They were made for a while, and I don't think they're currently in production. No one's making them. They can, of course, be made as a custom order, but I don't think they're a standard item for those particular craftsmen. They're doing other stuff now. If you look at mine, the grind is significantly better. The blade's about as thick. This is slightly thinner than usual for a top quality Balisong, but it's still plenty thick and very well ground. The guy who ground this one is a master craftsman, without doubt. I guess the blades aren't completely comparable, since this is a Chris, but it's a very well done Balisong. Last of all, we have a little Rambo. Again, the grind could be better. but this was hand-picked, and it could have been a lot worse than it is. I did have to go through quite a few to pick out these, and I only picked the ones I felt were suitable for PinoySteel, which takes quite a while. Okay, aside from the grind and the bolsters and inserts on these, let's take a look at the actual structure of these. If I flip this one here over and I take my stainless one out, let's compare the thickness here. The blades are about as thick as each other, but these aluminum pieces have very thick bolsters and scales. The scales are very, very thick if you compare them, and they really fill up your hand well, which is one thing I like about these aluminum pieces. They're lightweight, they're not too heavy, and they're very easy to carry, and they really fill up your hand well without being too heavy, which is perfect for EDC. They do of course break in faster, and they're less durable if you drop them. It'll introduce a lot of play into the handles if you drop them onto a hard surface. The stainless is significantly more durable, and it doesn't scratch up as easily. And what else can I tell you? Let's take a look at the latch interface. That's one thing that indicates the difference between a good Balisong and a standard grade one. So if you just give me a second, I'll close this one up. Again, these are the best of the commercial grade, since I personally picked them out. So let's compare these two. If you look at the latches, the latch on my piece fits into between the bolsters and the housing very, very well. There's a little bit of a gap here with the commercial grade piece, but again, this is one of the best from that batch. Like, I may accept 5% of the commercial grade pieces overall. The housings on these are done pretty much the same. The latch on this one's actually quite good if you look. They're quite evenly done, which is, again, this is a good piece for a commercial piece. The grind on the outside is good too. The bolsters on the stainless piece are of course finished better if you look at the top of them. If I flip them over, there's a little bit of a gap there. I'm not sure if you can make that out. Right there, you can see there's a little tiny unevenness in the grind. It's not quite perfect. This one's done a little better. It's not perfect either, but custom knives seldom are perfect because of the hand grinding. That goes for top dollar knives as well. I've seen knives that go for over $500 that have the same kind of issues. And I'm talking about knives made by professional knife makers in the US and Europe. So it's not easy. Anyone who's ever ground a blade knows it takes a great deal of control and skill, and not everyone can manage to grind a blade perfectly. Well, perfect is definitely not something that's easy to achieve, perfection. If you look at the bolsters, if you look at the latches, they're both quite thick. This is an aluminum latch, which I feel is the smoothest opening. You can get it open really, really quickly. It's very easy to pop open. This one's a little stiff, but it's not too bad. It'll break in. Mine is broken in. This is a very nice thick latch, which is beveled. Once it's broken in, it's nice and smooth. But I believe the aluminum one will be the smoother latch after some time. So there you go. That's the difference between a standard grade Balisong and one from the best makers. They do make standard grade ones in aluminum as well. In stainless as well, but yeah, again, you're gonna have the same kind of issues. The grind isn't quite as good, and they don't take quite as much care with the pinning